Sorry. FNAF, oops. Hello everyone, let's start!
We cover a lot of scary stuff on this show, but
oh my gosh! He just appeared out of nowhere, just like poof, out of the grave.
today is, no clickbait, the scariest topic of all. Copyright. With a little dose of FNAF, all my favorite topics in one episode. I love 2019!
Game theory become bad news.
Hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory, where
Hello.
today, call me Gloria Bolja because our top story is an oopsie. One big oopsie made by one big man. Actually, I don't know what his relative size is. He's just big in the gaming space. And that man's name is Scott Cawthon. Now, if you're not—
Did you just call me fat? Did you just call me fat?
familiar with what happened, let me catch you up. Last episode, we analyzed a teaser image for Scott's new VR game, FNAF Help Wanted. What I didn't mention in that video, though, was that it was only online for just a couple of hours. In fact, by the time I had gotten to check out this thing, it had been wiped clean from the internet, only preserved thanks to some dedicated Redditors, specifically GB Aura Recharged. Now, Scott is no stranger to posting things only to rip them off the internet later. He's done it with comments on my videos, he did it with version 1 of FNAF World, his contents of the infamous FNAF 4 box, yep, those got changed. Heck, even the script for his new movie was written, approved, and ready to shoot, and then he just threw it out. It's like,
What? I mean, what? Oh my god. Huh.
like, this community deserves better. But this time, it was different. This time, it was because the team working on the VR game, Steel Wool, had unintentionally used fan art. As he said on Reddit, quote, "My first teaser in more than half a year was made using questionable choices at best and traced fan models at worst." He then went on 2 days later to clarify further, quote again, "As you all remember, the artwork that I teased for the game, which was actually a portion of the cover artwork, included characters that had used fan art and fan models as references. When I learned about that, I was obviously pretty upset and took down the teaser. The person working on the artwork used images that he thought were mine. If anything, everyone who had one of their models referenced should pat themselves on the back, because your models look like they were canon. I think it's a testament to the fan community that the fan models rival mine. Many of them looked identical, and some of them look better." So
Ooh. Now, not only is he praising people, he's like, all of you shall get better. All of you, there room for improvement. Grow the community, grow the viewership, grow the followers, grow everyone. You know, awesome. Thank you. Room for improvements.
the TLDR of this whole thing is that he pulled down the teaser because it used recolored, reskinned models made by a fan of characters that Scott Cawthon himself created that looked so close to the original creations that his own team couldn't tell him apart from the originals. And this sparked a really interesting question in my head. Did Scott legally have to do this? These are his characters, after all, and the fan-made models were so close that they probably wouldn't have been seen as any sort of transformative use. Now, obviously, he cares about this community a lot, and pulling the teaser was absolutely the correct decision from a goodwill standpoint.
Yes, it's absolutely good for a goodwill perspective to show respect and just understanding. Be a polite individual. That's nice. Thank you.
But what would the law say about this? After doing the research, it's a lot more complicated and interesting than you might think. To get there, we're going on a twisted copyright journey that'll show us why Naughty Dog lives up to its name, why your photographs of the Eiffel Tower are probably illegal, and why everyone's in an uproar about Rule 34. Oh boy, welcome online. Copyright law doesn't know what's hitting it. That's a terrible last line. Whoo boy, copyright law doesn't know what's hitting it. Copyright law don't have an indicator. Just gonna segue over to the next paragraph. Oh, and before we dive into this episode, you might have noticed that I actually released another video alongside this one today. In that upload, I specifically talk about this channel and a lot of our own personal issues that we've had with fan art in the past, as well as a way to protect yourself if you're a fan artist who's working online right now. It's actually a really important video for me, touching on a topic that I've stayed really quiet about for quite a long time. So before you go down into the comments and start laying into me for not being allowed to cover this issue because I supposedly stole fan art in the past, please go watch that video too. That's actually why it's a dual upload. I couldn't really decide which one made more sense to go first, because really the two complement each other. They comment off of each other. So just please watch both. It'll do me a favor. It'll save me a lot of grief when I read the comments in this. Save my self-esteem a lot of grief as well. Oh, the other disclaimer that I should mention at the beginning of this episode is that there's a lot of fan work out there that is transformative, that is not considered to be a copy of anyone else's work. This episode actually isn't about that. Today, we are purely focused on fan art that's intended to closely represent a character that already exists.
Oh, there's different types of fan art. The more you know.
And all the basic legal mumbo jumbo that's around that.
True.
So, we all on the same page? We all good? Great! Let's get into it. Loose good do, we can do. Now, Scott is far from the only game maker that's had a
Oh my god, I really love the segue.
copyright Oopsie when it comes to teasing a new game. Case in point, the original version of the trailer for Uncharted 4: A Thief's End was released containing a painting that took images from Assassin's Creed Black Flag's concept art. The one with the pirate. I gotta give credit where credit's due here, guys. That is incredibly on brand. Stealing artwork to promote a game that has the word thief in the title. Very smart. Very meta. Ubisoft wasn't appreciating that level of meta commentary though, and Sony was quick to pull the video and replace the asset. Oopsies like this also aren't just limited to marketing materials and teasers either. Back in 2013, a graphic designer named Cameron Booth made a post announcing that he was effing furious with the fact that the game The Last of Us featured a map that he had made of the Boston Metro. First off, I'd like to point out that The Last of Us, just like Uncharted, is a Naughty Dog game. I guess we know what the naughty is referring to in their name.
I mean, they did create Last of Us 2, so...
But after what I assume was a swift apology and a fairly decent payoff, Cameron quickly dialed back his language in a later public post saying, "It seems as if matters will be resolved to everyone's satisfaction shortly." Great, I'm so happy for you guys. Money truly heals all wounds. But this case already starts to reveal some weird nuances of the copyright world, because while the graphic designer who made the picture owns the copyright to his map and was absolutely in his right to complain about the improper usage, he actually doesn't have the copyright to the Boston Metro itself. Does that sound dumb? You bet it does! In fact, it is so dumb that it can't be anything other than real. Real-world pieces of architecture are subject to their own copyright. Just like one musician can't copy the song of another musician, so too an architect can't copy the building design created by another architect. Things get even weirder though when you start thinking about what this means for pictures that people are taking in front of buildings. Those pictures technically are violating copyright, or at least they would be if it wasn't for this idea of freedom of panorama. You see, most countries have some law or general understanding in place that says you won't get sued if you decide to create an Instagram story showing yourself posing in front of some famous landmarks.
Oh, or maybe there's a CGI, a green screen, you never know. Or maybe that is like freedom of panorama, Yeah.
Notice though that I said most countries. Most does not equal all. Case in point, France. France doesn't have freedom of panorama. As a result, technically speaking, you legally shouldn't be able to post photographs of the Eiffel Tower, but only the night photographs. You see, because the Eiffel Tower without lights was built in 1889, that one is old enough to have entered the public domain. But the lights that go on at night were installed in 1985, thereby making this an artistic work with live copyright, making posting photos of it illegal. That means that anything you find in a regular Google image search under Eiffel Tower at night was probably taken by fearless outlaws who are flouting the law, throwing caution to the wind, and posting their tourist photos of the Eiffel Tower in the evening. Probably a bunch of developers at Naughty Dog being like, whatever, we don't care. We steal artwork all the time. We're Naughty Dog. We're dogs who are naughty. So what does the Eiffel Tower have to do with FNAF fan art? Well, obviously, people are taking photos of the Eiffel Tower and art getting thrown in les prisons. I actually didn't learn the word for prison when I took French. And that's...
No, that's prison. You know, French language. Yeah.
Because these crazy laws don't matter for people who are only using the image for personal consumption. You put an image on your fridge or you slap it on the desk at your office, you're fine. But the second you publish that image, it becomes a different story. Just take a look at any stock image website like Getty Images, which is a business built on legally owning the rights to every image in their archive, and you'll notice that most of the images of the Eiffel Tower, even the ones with low light, don't feature the lights on the building turned on. And this is where things get tricky. As if they weren't overly complicated enough. You see, if you publish a piece of artwork that features a character like Mangle or Mario or Mewtwo or heck Elsa, and you don't own the copyright to that character, then publishing that fan work is technically a copyright violation, which merits a huge question: what counts as publishing? Now, obviously, publishing includes things like putting it in a book that ends up in Barnes & Noble, but publishing actually has a much broader definition in the legal sense. Publishing, in the broadest sense of the word, just means causing something to become public or making it publicly known.
Publishing, causing something to be more public or making it publicly known. So, yeah, technically speaking, me uploading this video, it's called publishing.
That means that everything from printing up and handing out a bunch of flyers on the street to, you guessed it, posting it online is covered. It doesn't even matter if it's a non-commercial type of posting. Posting fan art non-commercially on your blog or a site like Tumblr or Instagram or Twitter all count as publishing that image. And if you're thinking to yourself, wow, that affects a lot of people.
True.
Yeah, it does. You're absolutely right. Technically speaking, every fan artist on Tumblr and DeviantArt and Pinterest and Pixiv and their own independent blog, they are technically violating copyright every time they post a new sketch of an existing character that's not transformative enough to be considered fair use. I know that sounds unbelievable, and that every fan artist out there is lighting their torch and rummaging for their proverbial pitchfork to come after me right now. But first off, don't kill the messenger here, guys. Legally, this is the truth based on the lawyers that I've spoken with and the legal papers that we've read. That is the letter of the law. But the letter is obviously only half the story, considering, of course, that the prisons across the country aren't filled with Rainbow Dash fan artists and bendy modelers. Though it'd be pretty funny if they were. What are you in for?
It's like, what are you in for? I'm here because of,
Kill the guy. You? I drew a pink pony very accurately. In actual practice, the situation favors fan artists a lot more than you might first think. As you can see pretty much everywhere on the internet, it's really rare for copyright holders to try and enforce their copyright. The only instances where you see this actually happen tend to be when a brand feels that the art that's being made really misrepresents their IP. One really convenient example of this in the gaming world is Blizzard, who issued DMCA takedowns across a bunch of different fan art in efforts to stop people from making how do I put this nicely?
Transformative, from their own point of view, stuff. Yeah.
Renditions of Overwatch characters in compromising situations, loving each other just a bit too much for their liking. For those of you who have the foreign tongue, images of their characters in flagrante delicto, in the carnal
Embrace tranquility.
basically
In the embrace tranquility. Something like that.
wanted people to skip from rule 33 to rule 35 of the Internet Handbook, if you catch my drift. And you can imagine just how effective Blizzard was at accomplishing that goal. Not that I would know personally, I was just doing research. For a friend. Anyway, according to the guidelines from Blizzard's policy on fan-made creations, they cracked down in order to, quote, maintain and protect the image of their games. They also said, Blizzard requires that productions maintain the T rating that has been given to its products by the ESRB. And I get that, right? It makes sense. While it might have been kind of a futile effort to remove sexy time from the internet, legally speaking, they're entirely within their legal right to protect their brand. But speaking of legal rights,
Interesting. Speaking of legal rights.
it is a two-way street. Even though a company owns the rights to its characters, you, as the fan artist, own the right to your individual piece of fan art. So going all the way back to our example of FNAF fan art, which there's a lot out there, if you drew a picture of Freddy and the cupcake, what are the actual rights for that image? Well, Scott owns the copyright to the character, but you own the copyright to that specific image. So you can't publish it, you don't own the rights to the character, but Scott also can't publish that image because he doesn't have the rights to your artwork. You are both caught. As it turns out, no one really has the rights to publish that image. Unless, of course, you both agree to it, but good luck there. Scott doesn't talk to anyone.
Hey, what did you say? What did you say? What did you say? Let me just go back first.
Anyone.
Hey Scott, it's Matt Pat. Want to hang out? I got an extra ticket to Infinity War. Want to join? Scott. 4 years ago. 4 years ago. 1 year ago. Yeah, a bit sad today.
Except for Dawko. Probably a secret son. I don't know. Talks to Dawko like all the time. Now, what would have happened if Scott hadn't owned up to his oopsie and the situation had actually escalated? What could the fan artist who created those character models have done to him? Turns out a very similar issue has come up and was settled in a fairly famous case with the iconic Obama Hope image from that election. The artist of the famous Obama image, Shepard Fairey, who is actually one of my favorite street artists, created the artwork, but he copied the image from a photograph of Obama that he, quote, found on the internet, but it was owned by an independent photographer from the Associated Press. In court, the ruling was that the Hope artwork infringed on the copyright of the original photograph. The original owner of the photograph...
Interesting. So there's the different laws are involved.
now participates in all money that's earned by the rights to that image. This is also the one case where I'll actually mention fair use, because Shepard Fairey actually tried to make the argument that his work here was transformative, but the court didn't buy it. In fact, he almost went to jail for it. The upshot of this whole thing is that, in theory, if a legal fight like this one would have happened in Scott's case, it could have very easily landed both parties in court, and it would have actually been pretty hard for Scott to win. Luckily, none of that happened. And I think a lot of that is because Scott holds himself to a higher standard.
Well, it's good for the community what he could probably get away with. True. It's like being understanding and building a more inclusive, welcoming community and just spreading positivity around.
Wouldn't have wanted to do a disservice to his fans. As he said in his apology, quote, "The only thing I care about is doing right by this community." Good on you, man. But there is another compelling reason for Scott to take that teaser down. Money. You see, the other big complicating factor in all of this isn't whether someone is really infringing on their copyright, but whether they're actually making money while doing the infringing. In the United States, criminal copyright laws prohibit you from actually using someone else's intellectual property for your own financial gain. This means that when you post your fan art online, you're not going to face any criminal liability. Fan artists, you are good to go. Sketchy nerd t-shirt companies that are selling unlicensed Nintendo merch, though, you might not be so safe.
Stop! You violated the law. Pay the court a fine or serve your sentence.
Likewise, if you're selling your own posters of your fan art images, well, that could land you in some legal hot water as well. And I know that this is the most sensitive subject around fan art because of all the commission that artists earn by doing fan art made to order for other members of their fan communities. I'm not condemning anyone. I'm not passing any sort of judgment on anyone else's online business. As someone who uses a lot of online images of other people's IP, I'm kind of digging my own grave here as well.
True.
This whole topic just makes me uncomfortable, especially since that's still not the end of this whole story. There's still only a select couple of ways that you could actually be sued, even if you did commercialize your fan art. The company would need to show in court that your art had damaged their company in some way, using the naughty Overwatch picture example again, if I can. If Blizzard took the fan artists to court, they would need to prove that somehow this adult-only content had damaged their brand in some way. In their case, Blizzard is trying to market their game Overwatch as a family-friendly experience for all players ages 13 and over.
Teen, age 13 and above. That's understandable. Unless tall, just, no, also 69.
And so the brand may actually get hurt if the first thing that comes up when mom starts Googling Orisa is a bunch of this. Very family unfriendly images. How much, though? It's actually hard to tell. While it seems like they would actually have a good case, it's still really hard to quantify how much their brand would get hurt by stuff like this, which is blurry behind me. For your safety, I swear.
Your safety is my primary concern.
And that's a pretty clear-cut case here. In most instances, fan art doesn't compete with the official images from the game. So what does all of this mean for you, the fan artist? Well, it means that you probably don't have to worry about getting sued. And even if you are getting close to getting sued, you're probably gonna know that you're doing something wrong long before anything happens. Like in 2015, the Pokemon Company went after a cafe that ran a Pokemon party unofficially at PAX that promoted itself using Pikachu posters and charged an entry fee. Or, in another case, a woman was threatened with legal action from 20th Century Fox because she was selling a Firefly-themed hat on her Etsy store. So, long story short, just don't charge admission to your next Pokemon-themed birthday party and leave the Firefly apparel for Hot Topic. But to bring it all the way back around to FNAF one last time, while Scott doesn't stand to gain a whole lot by suing his fans over their creations, he does stand to lose a whole lot if he uses a fan-made model in the box art for a VR game that is for profit and could potentially make millions of dollars.
Yes, the trusts. We give you our trust, don't misuse it.
See, if he kept those fan models in his box art, it would, in theory, open him up to a much bigger legal problem where he might have to pay thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars in royalties simply for using those two pieces of artwork. So, Scott's decision to take down the teaser image was certainly the right thing to do from a moral perspective, but it's also the correct thing to do from a business perspective. I mean, don't get me wrong, Scott is all about giving back to the FNAF community, but maybe he's not interested in giving that much back. But hey, that's just a theory and certainly not legal advice. Consider this your official legal disclaimer that I am not a lawyer, even though we talked to a lot of lawyers for this episode. And if you get yourself into hot water for making or distributing fan art, you can use this video as an interesting talking piece with your legal counsel, but don't assume that I, Matt Pat, will be standing up for you in court as your legal defense. Here, watch this YouTube video about FNAF fan art. No, it's not really gonna work. Okay? Okay. Keep farting it up out there, guys. And remember, that is just a theory.
I'm ready. I really like it that they use the SpongeBob guy. I'm ready. Change it to I'm Freddy.
A game theory. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you do like this video, please consider to watch more of my videos. Do remember to like, share, subscribe to my channel, and comment down below if you have anything to share with us. Do remember to follow my channel as well. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you another day. Thank you. And if you do like this video that I just reacted to, they are from the YouTube channel The Game Theorists. They are amazing individuals, and I hope that you will watch more of their work. I'm a huge fan of their work. Thank you. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.